time, we covered updated ADHD and how, from an outsider's perspective, that might affect today's full-grown woman. But if you feel still on the fence about if those characteristics actually resonate with what you know about your own personal life, perhaps the view from inside the mind of a full-grown woman as she faces day-to-day experiences might help you decide. If you decide positively that those characteristics actually resonate with what you know about your own life, how would that actually be helpful other than confirming, yes, there are struggles and dysfunctions in your life, which you probably already knew? Could, though, this realization be the explanation, validation, and redemption you have been looking for most of your life? I'm Dana Hicks, a licensed clinical mental health counselor, and I have 2 points of explanation, 2 points of validation, and 2 points of redemption from updated ADHD straight to the scattered, full-grown woman's heart. Explanation number 1 is a weak stop sign, aka a struggle to focus and get things done. Think about it. She is sitting in her classroom or at her work desk, juggling all kinds of concerns, such as relationships, be that with her husband, her kids, her teachers, her bosses, her girlfriends, keeping track of everything that she will need for dance class, yoga class, sports activities that are happening later on today, on top of performing well on whatever she is doing right here, right now, from which she is currently being distracted from all the other things I mentioned. Explanation number 2 is a sensitive nervous system. Perceived mistakes having to do with any of those subjects racing through her mind are liable to hijack her nervous system to anywhere from being intensely annoyed to a complete state of self-loathing shock, and is completely capable of shutting down all her functioning until either the problem is solved or she becomes emotionally and or physically exhausted. On top of being at the mercy of her perceived mistakes, she's also susceptible to changes in her environment, no matter how small. For example, it could be a change in body language, such as a silent pout from her coworker or classmates, or a sudden chill from an open window, or the lingering scent of a morning smoke on her boss or teacher as they lean over her shoulder to offer her assistance. Validation number 1 is rejection's sting. Rejection sensitivity dysphoria makes so much sense in the context of women. Because being female, she's already encouraged toward and probably dispositioned to valuing relationships. Her added sensitive nervous system just further intensifies that already existing motivation to please in response to outside expectations, such as policies and procedures, classroom rules, grades, and evaluations, not to mention any sign of any degree of conflict. So much so that she's often thrown into a near panic just at the lack of response when she greets anyone in the hallway. With this combination, the goal of others' favorable impressions becomes the most important thing, often at the expense of her own self-worth. Validation number 2 is repeated panic. As she looks back on her life, she remembers the following experience happening at an alarmingly frequent rate. She is completely and utterly confused, but she has no knowledge of or motivation to use assertive words for help. The risk of rejection or being labeled stupid by her teacher or peers is just too high for her to take action on behalf of her own self. She is viscerally aware of her isolation in the midst of self-loathing shock. Still, her commitment to fly under the radar keeps her trapped in this nightmarish reality behind her precious people-pleasing mask, instead of acting out like the bad boys or the tough guys just to get anyone's attention. The repeated debilitation from each of these experiences has led to a lifetime of sensing guilt, self-doubt, and blanket inadequacy.
Naming and looking under these characteristics as if they were a mask that you've unknowingly been wearing for most of your life can be terrifying. It also could mean a fresh self-concept that you might not have considered. An identity that is unique to your very nature. An invitation to positively stand out from others with a flair that is all your own. Your moment to embody all that beauty just by relaxing into the freedom of your own skin. Redemption number 2 is hope for functioning. ADHD characteristics only become dysfunctional in day-to-day life and therefore considered a disorder when the innate sensitivities in ADHD are internalized as unacceptable and the room for growth is considered permanent. The good news, though, is that ADHD brains are 100% capable of improving in emotional and mental functioning, no matter the age or current skill level. To wrap up, if you identify with these characteristics and the emotional turmoil that they are quite capable of producing, then your first step toward relief of a lifetime of self-doubt is to own them, knowing that there are two sides to this coin. Only when you admit and come to grips with your own personal experience of ADHD struggles can you also discover the incredible and unique strengths that lie on the other side. And only then can you fully internalize the truth that identifying as ADHD is not cause for punitive judgment any more than having seasonal allergies is cause for immediate failure in school or being fired from your job. Stay tuned for next time on the superpowers of ADHD. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe below with no strings attached.